Hello everyone. Today, we'll be seeing how fast Skarmory can beat Pokemon Emerald in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into the video. This week we will be doing Pokemon Emerald. We are going to be playing the game with Skarmory and Mantine. We'll be doing Mantine on Friday, but today we are going to be doing Skarmory. Both of these Pokemon were version exclusives in Generation 2, and funnily enough, a lot of people often think Skarmory is a Generation 3 Pokemon, because think back, have you ever seen a trainer in Gen 2 with a Skarmory? I believe there's only like one trainer in the whole game that exists with a Skarmory. Similar thing with like the Slugma and Magcargo lines, not many people have them. So most people, including me, thought they were Gen 3 Mons, but anyway, I'm a bit sidetracked here. Anyway, let's take a look at the stats of what we're dealing with. We have 65 HP, 80 attack, 140 defense, 40 special attack, so I guess we're using none of those, 70 special defense, and 70 speed. We are in the slow level up group, so the early game is not going to be that great, especially since the first gym leader is a rock type specialist. However though, let's take a look at our level up moveset as well. As you can see, we start with two moves, Leer and Peck. And then at level 10 we get Sand Attack, which is going to be just awesome. And then Swift at level 13, and then we get Agility, Fury Attack, Air Cutter, Steel Wing, Spikes, and Metal Sound. Not really too many good level up moves. Air Cutter and Steel Wing are definitely the best ones we've got. And via TM, we get Hidden Power like most Pokemon do, and then we get Return, Sandstorm, Aerial Ace, Secret Power, Steel Wing, and Fly. We also get the HM for Rock Smash if we need to use that for Wattson, especially for his Magneton. And then we do get a decent selection of tutor moves, but most of these are locked behind BP in the Battle Frontier. But the ones we could access if we want to are Double Edge and Swagger and Substitute. Obviously, we're going to be going for Substitute because Substitute benefits pretty much every Pokemon in Pokemon Emerald, so that's just going to be a no-brainer. But the other three moves, we're really going to have to think about what we truly need. And as we're fighting through the early game trainers, the main plan is I'm going to take on every trainer possible before Roxanne, and I'm going to try and blackout train on her, because I'm going to need a very high level to beat her, and even then, I'm going to need a lot of luck, because the main plan is to Sand Attack her Pokemon, and hopefully get enough Pecks off to where I can knock out her whole team. And once we learn Swift, it'll be a better answer, because despite Peck having the same type attack bonus, Swift will still deal more damage. So it's still going to take a while. And as you can see on the overlay, we are running the Adamant Nature, which is plus attack minus special attack. This thing really can't learn any special moves with the exception of particular hidden powers. And we also have the Keen Eye ability, which prevents moves like Sand Attack from Mud Slap from working. There aren't really many Sand Attacking users in this game. The main thing I can think of is Sidney's Mightyena in the league, but we'll have Substitute by that point anyway. Also, I just found this out for a future video. In newer generations, Keen Eye lets you skip Double Team. Like if the opponent uses Double Team, Keen Eye will just ignore that. That wasn't a thing in this game, but it's quite interesting. I wonder if we'll get to do a Pokemon with that. I guess time will tell. And in the bottom part of the overlay, we have Hidden Power Ground. The reason we have Hidden Power Ground is mainly as an answer for Steven Stone. Hidden Power Fire is a really good special hidden power for him, but with our low special attack, Ground is also a good alternative. We could have also gone with Hidden Power Ghost or Hidden Power Bug if we wanted to, but Hidden Power Ground just provides the best coverage, especially against other fire types. So that was pretty much the main reason for it. With all the trainers on the various routes and inside of Roxanne's gym defeated, I am level 14, so let's begin the blackout grinding. She leads off with her level 12 Geodude. My moveset is Swift, Leer, Peck, and Sand Attack. So the main plan is to set up 1 or 2 Sand Attacks on the Geodude, hope she doesn't hit me with too many Rock Tombs, and while they don't do much damage, the problem is Swift looks like it's only doing a 6th, and besides, she does have Defense Curl, which is the reason the Leer strat isn't really going to work. If she didn't have Defense Curl, this fight would honestly go a lot better because I could get her defenses really low. I mean, it's not going to work for her first two Geodudes nor her Nose Pass because her Nose Pass likes to spam Harden 90% of the time. So I hope you can see how this fight's going to go. I'm just going to keep going at this fight, and then if I die, I just accept the blackout, go back in, and try again. Because the alternative is just grinding in the wild, and that's not a good idea. Plus, I actually have the Quick Claw equipped for this fight, so despite all of the Rock Tombs, I will still have a chance of going first. It takes me over 10 blackouts, but at 36 minutes into the run at level 18, I am finally able to defeat Roxanne with 22 HP remaining, and I get my first gym badge. Hopefully things will get easier from here. I do the usual Pokemon Emerald stuff. I go to the Rusturf Tunnel, rescue Pico, get myself the letter from the Devoncore president, and now I am in Dewford Town. And now we have to ask the age-old question, do I fight Brawly now or later? We can't learn Bulk Up, but we do have a super effective move on his team, so let's go take him on. He leads with his Machop. Peck unfortunately doesn't one-shot and he does use a Bulk Up, but even with the Bulk Up I can still two-shot it. Next up is his Meditite. Its only attacking move is Focus Punch, so it may as well not exist. And then on Makuhita, I use Peck to deal over half, and despite the Bulk Up and the Citrus Berry, I am able to hit it in 2 more uses of Peck, and Brawly is defeated. This is great because this fight will be used as experience for the Wattson battle. If y'all thought that the Roxanne fight was bad, the Wattson battle is just going to be worse. I mean, it's kind of predicted. A lot of Pokemon really struggle against Wattson. Before leaving town though, I do get the Silk Scarf from this gentleman. This will boost the power of normal type moves by 10%. And while grinding on a lot of the early game to mid game trainers, I would really prioritize Swift having slightly more damage over going first. I clear out all the trainers on the beach and inside the soda house. I clear out the Slateport Museum, and then I can go up to Route 110, and I am going to do the Trick House. I don't normally like doing the Trick House because while yes, there is a rare candy, the fact that it takes so long to get often makes it not worth it, but it's honestly worth it just for the trainers alone, at least for this Pokemon run. Plus, I can actually use the rare candy. Hopefully earlier than expected. I have had some runs where I would use the candy before Wattson, but I'm pretty sure I may not need to do that, but I might be proven wrong though. With all the trainers cleared out, I can take on the rival battle at level 22. He leads off with a Wingull and a Silk Scarf boosted Swift one-shots. Then on the Combuskin, I go for Peck, dealing more than half, and then he crits me with Ember, giving me my first reset in the run. It's a good thing I had the fortuity of actually saving before this guy, because since the rival always has the fire team, Skarmory is going to have a pretty dang difficult time here. On the second attempt, I get back to his Combuskin, I go for Peck dealing over half, and he just sets up Focus Energy like an idiot. Honestly, I think Crit Ember was the only thing he could do to kill me, because I'm pretty sure a regular Ember might deal around half. So yeah, he was really lucky in that first fight. And now with the rival defeated, I continue clearing out more trainers. There are a lot of trainers surrounding the Mauville suburbs in Pokemon Emerald, unlike Ruby and Sapphire, which we did a few weeks ago. So there are a lot more people to fight and get experience for Wattson. I can even take out the trainers in the Windstrait house and get a Macho Brace. I could actually equip this to gain more EVs while training, but I actually forgot to equip this and I still have the Silk Scarf. Oh well, at least I can sell it for money if I need to. Then inside Verdendorf Town, I enter the battle tent right here, and I get myself the TM for Attract. This isn't going to be useful right now, but it will be useful much later in the run. And then I can go ahead and teach Rock Smash to Zigzagoon, and I'm going to teach it to Skarmory in the place of Leer. So yes, Rock Smash is going to be the solution for Wattson's Magneton. It may be low in base power, but it's better to use a weak fighting move over a resisted Swift. And besides, Rock Smash has a 50% chance to lower the opponent's defense, so it will definitely come quite in handy a lot. Plus, I end up biking back down to Slateport because I forgot to do something. I can go inside the Pokemon fan club right here and talk to the tutor for Swagger. I'm going to teach this move in the place of Sand Attack. My plan for Wattson is to use Swagger on his Magneton and Manectric. Hopefully they hit themselves and then I can slowly knock them out with Rock Smash. Plus if I lower their defense and they hit themselves again, it can do even more damage. So now I'm going to deposit my HM users and I'm going to equip the Quick Claw. I'm going to go for the Blackout strat on Wattson as well. So let's see how this goes. Wattson leads off with his Voltorb. I start off by using a Swift and it lives in red health and hits me with Spark for pretty decent damage. Fortunately it didn't paralyze me. Then on the Electrike, Swift unfortunately doesn't one-shot, that really irritates me. Then he sends out Manectric before Magneton, which I almost never see him do. And then I go ahead and use Swagger on it. Unfortunately it is able to hit me and I get my first Blackout. Well, I think you can all see where this is going. I'm going to fade out to the winning attempt. This took around 15 Blackouts, but at level 35, an hour and 12 minutes into the run, I have the Cherry Berry equipped on the Manectric, so when he uses Thunder Wave, I am able to heal it. And then on his Magneton, I can use Swagger on it. He does break out of confusion, but I'm at the point where I should probably just start spamming Rock Smash because I got 2 defense drops on him, and all he can really do is either use Supersonic or just use Shockwave. And fortunately, I am able to finally defeat Wattson. This run has honestly had around 25 Blackouts at this point, but in my runs, I do not count Blackouts as resets. As you can see by Skarmory, there's a 1. That 1 reset was from the rival. The reason I don't count Blackouts as resets is because the Blackouts were intentional. It was part of the strategy for Skarmory. It's not really a loss if you are purposefully trying to do it for training. I just don't want to punish Skarmory that way. Resets are basically like your progress was wiped out. It's as if that loss never happened, if you get what I mean. And besides, they're called resets, they're not called losses. And now I can get myself the TM for Secret Power and I can teach it in the place of Swift. Although I'm not really going to use this move for much longer, but at least it's a somewhat good upgrade over Swift. I fight some more trainers leading up to Fall Arbor Town and the Meteor Falls, and then I can exit out through Route 115, head all the way to Rustdurf Tunnel, get the HM for Strength, and then I can go to the base of Mount Chimney and ride the cable car. Will I see the hiker today? Nope, not today. Let's go take on Maxie. Maxie leads off with his Mighty Yenna, which has Intimidate. I am level 38 though, and despite the Intimidate, stealing does far more than half to the Mighty Yenna. And then on the Camerupt, I go ahead and use Swagger just because I don't want it to use Ember. He just uses Focus Energy instead of hitting himself, and for some reason, he used Magnitude on a Skarmory. Did you get dropped on your head as a child, Maxie? Like, what are you doing? And because of that fatal error by him, I'm able to knock out his Camerupt and his Zubat and defeat Maxie. And also, just because we've beaten Wattson and Roxanne does not mean we're at the end of all these hard gym leader fights. Flannery is the fire type gym leader after all, and we have a massive problem with fire moves. So why don't we go take on this fight right now? Actually, before I took her on, I biked all the way back to Slayport to buy 1 copy of Hidden Power, because I forgot to do that. And now with Hidden Power Ground, I can one-shot the Numel and the Slugma. Then on the Camerupt, I use Hidden Power Ground, it one-shots it as well, and it's probably going to two-shot the Torkoal. It does around half, and I survive an overheat at 7 HP remaining. And then the second Hidden Power Ground defeats it, and Flannery has been obliterated on the very first attempt. So yeah, all of that training I did, all of it was essential, because if I was at level 37, I most likely would have been one-shot by that. Who knows, that might have even been a range for all I know. Now, we need to go head back to Petalburg City and take on Norman, the 5th gym leader. I'm going to mention this right now, but when I went back to purchase Hidden Power, I just realized I forgot to mention what vitamins I bought. Our vitamin of the day was just 3 protein. I used them just for more attack. Alright, now that I have the daily vitamin of the day, let's go ahead and take on Norman. We are level 39 for this fight, and my moveset is Steel Wing, Rock Smash, Hidden Power, and Swagger. I go ahead and use Steel Wing to one-shot the Spinda, and will it one-shot the Vigoroth? Sadly it does not, but all it does is use Facade. Then he sends out his Linoon. I go for Steel Wing, it lives at very low health, and then he heals up with a Hyper Potion because of it, and then the next Steel Wing actually does less damage, but hey, I got a defense boost out of it, so that's nice. And now for the Slacking. I go ahead and use Swagger because normally if you defeated his previous Pokemon with a physical move, he will go for counter, so that's what the Swagger was for. So I'm basically going to alternate between Swagger and Rock Smash, because I really do not want to get hit with counter potentially. And honestly, he is at +6 with attack at this point, so that's honestly kind of funny how I'm facing a very buffed up Slacking. And then I've tried to knock it out with Steel Wing. Unfortunately, I sort of underestimated just how little damage Steel Wing did, and he was able to use counter and defeat me. Well, that was my fault. Reset. On the next attempt, I'm a bit more patient when using the Swagger strategy, so now, even though I'm asleep and the Slacking is at half health, he has +6 attack, he hits himself in confusion, and he actually defeats himself. So yeah, Skarmory ended up winning while he was asleep. Nice. So now with Norman defeated, I can get the HM for Surf, and I can go ahead and get some things. In Petalburg, there's a rare candy, and then there's going to be plenty of other rare candies throughout the overworld. I'm not really going to mention them because I feel like people generally know where the rare candies are, but if you don't know where the rare candies are, then you can easily just look up a rare candy guide. I'm just going to mention if I ever get rare candies that are out of the way, because there are just a bunch of rare candies that I get every single run, and I don't want to bore you guys that like, hey, I got this rare candy that I get every other run. So yeah, I'm only going to mention it if it's like a rare candy I almost never get. While I am in Petalburg though, I do catch my Meryl for Surf, Strength, Dive, and Waterfall. Okay, not Surf because the Zigzagoon has Surf, because otherwise how would I be surfing right now for the Meryl? But anyway, I'm going to head all the way through Mauville City, up to the Weather Institute, clear that place out, and then the rival fight right afterwards is an absolute piece of cake. Like, there was literally nothing he could do. I don't even think a crit Ember can save him this time. Then, when I am inside Fortree City, I go ahead and get another copy of Hidden Power Ground, because we may need it in case we need some move flexibility for the late game. Like, for example, if during the league we need to delete Hidden Power, at least we can get it back for Steven. I probably could have just bought 2 copies while I was in Slateport, but then that means I wouldn't have as much money for a vitamin. So anyway, why don't we go take on the 6th gym leader of Hoenn, Winona. She leads off with her Swablu. Steel Wing will obviously one-shot it because I am very overleveled at this point. Next up is her Tropius. I miss Steel Wing. She goes for Sunny Day. I hit the next Steel Wing, and she just hits with Aerial Ace doing 4 damage, so I end up defeating her in 2 hits. Then on the Pelipper, it starts spamming Protect like it usually does. I go ahead and use a Rock Smash or 2 on it first, because I want to see if I can get a defense drop, because Steel Wing isn't really going to be doing that much, but as soon as I get a defense drop, I am able to defeat her Pelipper using Steel Wing. Then on her own Skarmory, I go ahead and just use several Rock Smashes, try and get her defense real low, and once I think it's low enough, I can switch over to Steel Wing. I mean, her Skarmory really couldn't do anything, because I have Keen Eye, she can't use Sand Attack, her best move on me is effectively her own Steel Wing and Aerial Ace, but I'm 11 levels higher than she is. But she does use Hyper Potions though, so the fight does end up going pretty dang slow, but not really much you can do about it. Then on her Altaria, I am actually completely out of Steel Wings, so I'm going to have to go with the Swagger strat. I use 1 Swagger on her, she uses Dragon Breath, fortunately it's a special move, and while she's confused, I'm going to be using Rock Smash, hoping to get some defense drops so she starts doing more damage to herself. She hits herself once, hits me with Aerial Ace for not much damage, and then I go ahead and use another swagger, getting her to +5 attack and -2 defense, which is obviously going to completely crush her. And now, Skarmory has obtained the Feather Badge. Well, that was definitely an action-paced battle. With Winona defeated, I make my way all the way to Lily Cove City, and I defeat the rival in front of the department store. The reason I'm doing this is so I can gain access to the department store, because on the very top floor, there is the tutor move for Substitute, and I'm going to teach this in the place of Swagger. Then I can go to the move deleter right next door and delete Rock Smash. So now with Rock Smash defeated, I can go ahead and use the TM Winona gave me, which is Aerial Ace. So now with Steel Wing, Aerial Ace, and Hidden Power Ground, my moveset coverage is effectively quite good for a physical attacker. And with this awesome moveset, I can clear out the Aqua Grunts on top of Mount Pyre and head my way into the Magma Hideout. There is a PP Max in here that I usually like to use on my main move, but I'm actually going to hold on to it, because Axu suggested I should hold on to PP ups for the Steven fight, because I'm willing to bet the fight is going to be a huge slogfest, because his Pokemon are very, very defensive. Plus, if you have Substitute for the Maxi fight at the end, there's really nothing he can do to you. Then, after I get the rare candy in here, I can escape rope out and go take on the Aqua Hideout inside of Lily Cove City. There's not really too much to explain here. The Aqua Hideout here is just not that good. And then I can go ahead and surf my way to Moss Deep City. There is something I would like to show off. I only learned this recently, but north of Moss Deep, there's a place called the Shoal Cave, and during high tide, which my game always has high tide on because I always start the clock in the player's house at the default 10 AM. So because it's high tide, I can actually get another rare candy. I actually never knew I could get this rare candy, just because I never knew when the tides were. But hey, I'll remember this for the future. Although this rare candy is sort of out of the way, because for most playthroughs there is never a reason to come here. And now with that rare candy obtained, I can obtain another rare candy south of Moss Deep City behind these two trainers here, and then I can fight my way towards Pacifidlog Town, and then just to the left of Pacifidlog, I can take on the 1 Magikarp 5 Gyarados guy. He is one of the best trainers for XP in the entire game. I just really wish this guy was in Fire Red where the Versus Seeker is, because this guy would be better training than Victory Road, like that's how good he is. And then I can get another rare candy. So now with all of this training done, let's go take on the 7th gym leaders, Tate and Liza. I am level 48 for this fight, and I am holding the Citrus Berry just so I can have extra HP for this fight. They lead off with Claydol and Xatu at level 41. My first move is I go ahead and use Steel Wing on the Xatu, because the Claydol really can't do too much because Ancient Power is not going to be doing that much. And it's going to just be focused on using Earthquake, unless I have a flyer out like Wingull. In that case, it's probably going to Ancient Power the Wingull. And then with the Xatu defeated, they send out their Soul Rock. And fortunately, Soul Rock and Lunatone are both weak to Steel Wing, so I can go ahead and Steel Wing the Soul Rock and I can actually one-shot it, which is really good, because Soul Rock is the more defensive one. So if I can one-shot the Soul Rock, I can obviously one-shot the Lunatone, which I do. So now, it's just Skarmory versus Claydol. This thing really cannot do anything to me. It's got Ancient Power and Psychic, like it would have to chain up several Omni Boosts to even stand a chance. So eventually, after they use up all their Hyper Potions, I am able to defeat Tate and Liza and get my 7th gym badge. With Tate and Liza defeated, I can defeat Team Magma inside the Space Center relatively easily, as well as the Archie battle inside the Seafloor Cavern. And then I have to go ahead and fly to Pacifidlog, get Rayquaza to stop all the legendary fighting, all that fun stuff. So now, we need to go ahead and take on the 8th gym leader of Emerald, Juan. Juan leads off with his Love Disc. I go ahead and use Substitute to block any uses of Sweet Kiss, and then Aerial Ace surprisingly does not one-shot the Love Disc. But that's fine though, with a Citrus Berry and Substitute, there's not really much his team can do. His Wish Cast tries to use Amnesia, but Aerial Ace is a physical move, so that doesn't really matter. Then on the Celio, I continue to just use Aerial Ace, and it does break my Substitute, but that's fine. Then on the Crawdont, I go ahead and use Aerial Ace to do around half. Crabhammer does decent damage, but I'm able to heal it off with the Citrus Berry, and unfortunately, the second Aerial Ace doesn't one-shot it from there, so that is actually not good. I might actually die here. Then on the Kingdra, I use Aerial Ace for a third, and Water Pulse knocks me out. Sad. On the next attempt, I'm actually able to get a better range on the Crawdont, and I'm actually able to two-shot it. Then on the Kingdra, I just spam Aerial Ace as he just sets up Double Team and Rest, which does not matter for me because Aerial Ace will ignore all those double teams, although this is really starting to get annoying. But I actually get an Aerial Ace crit, and while he's still asleep, I'm actually able to knock out his Kingdra, and Skarmory has obtained all 8 gym badges. You know what? Other than the blackout training I needed to do for Roxanne and Wattson, this run has been going pretty dang good. I'm actually kind of impressed with this thing. I go around the region getting a few more rare candies that I could not get earlier, and then I can enter Victory Road and take on Wally. I'm not really too worried about this fight though, because I can just set up a substitute on the Altaria, and then Steel Wing will only do half to it, but I can just two-shot it with another Steel Wing. Then on his Magneton, I accidentally used Steel Wing, but then I just realized I have Hidden Power Ground, so I need to use Hidden Power Ground, and then I can Steel Wing the Delcatty. Unfortunately, it's going to be a two-shot. She actually uses Assist and tries to use Future Sight on me. That is not really going to do much at all. And then on the Gardevoir, I go ahead and use Steel Wing. It does half because Gardevoir is not a fairy type yet. If it was, that would have been a one-shot. And then on the Roselia, I can one-shot it with Aerial Ace. Well, normally I don't like to cover the Wally fight, but I figured I should. You never know what can happen. I do want to mention something though. I actually am doing these final 2 trainers at the end of Victory Road. They both have a slacking and they're very good XP, but this guy right here, his slacking uses Attract on me, and Attract actually goes through Substitute, and then his slacking is able to knock me out with Flamethrower, and I didn't think to save before this guy, so I need to let all my HM users black out, and then I have to fly back to Victory Road and go all the way through here again. So yeah, I really should have thought of saving before these guys. I'm just glad these guys aren't mandatory, because I can imagine a lot of Pokemon getting resets to these people. I do come back and save before them. I defeated the person on the left easily, and then the person on the right gave me another reset, so I'm like, you know what? I don't need to do this training, I'm just heading out. And now I'm in the Pokemon League. I heal at the center, buy some full restores, and a couple of max repels, and now we need to go take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. First up is Sidney. It hits an Intimidate on me, and then I go ahead and just start using Steel Wing. I don't even bother using a substitute just because my Keen Eye ability blocks uses of Sand Attack. And then next up is his Crawdont. I go ahead and use Aerial Ace. It only does a quarter because of the Intimidate, and Surf is actually doing a lot of damage, and I get a reset. You know what? This is actually fine though. I actually prepared for this. My actual plan is to blackout train in the Elite Four because Skarmory is going to need a very high level in order to take on Steven Stone at the end of the game. I need to continue the blackout training in order to get Skarmory to level up. And after a little bit of blackout training, I actually just go back to Victory Road and just grind in the wild. The wild Pokemon here are actually really good. The Hariyama and the Golbat give really good XP yields. The reason I quit training at Sidney is because I wasn't consistently getting past him at the level I was at. If you're not able to get past Sidney, blackout training there is really bad. The blackout training in the league is only really good if you can at least get past Phoebe first. So I decided to just grind in the wild to get to the level I need to get to. And that level is level 56. However though, I'm still going to attempt to blackout train against Sidney. I just came back just to see if it was doable, and it looks like it sort of is, ? Because I end up defeating Sidney at very low HP remaining, so now I can move on to the next Elite Four member, Phoebe. On her lead Dusclops, I go ahead and use a substitute to block any uses of Curse, and then I use Steel Wing on it, it does less than half. Then I switched over to Hidden Power Ground because I do not want to lose power points in Steel Wing or Aerial Ace due to the pressure ability. Then on the Banette, I use Steel Wing, it breaks my substitute with Thunderbolt, so now I have to go to the next Banette naked. Then I use 2 Steel Wings on it, it actually bears a grudge on me, so now I am completely out of Steel Wings, but that's not a big deal though, because I can just use Aerial Ace. Then on the Dusclops, it actually freezes me with Ice Beam, but fortunately I thaw out right away. And now at 23 HP remaining, I knock out the Dusclops, and then on the Sableye, I'm going to have to use Hidden Power Ground, and that's just very risky, because the Sableye ends up using Feint Attack, and it gets a critical hit, so now I have to black out again and go back into Sidney. Yep, at least I can sorta reliably take out Sidney now, because my plan is to actually blackout train in the Elite Four until we get to the level where after using all of our rare candies, we will be able to arrive at Drake by level 75, because Drake is sort of impossible for Skarmory until around level 75, because 1, his Pokemon have very powerful special moves, like the Salamence has Flamethrower, and his other Pokemon have some other very powerful moves. So I'm going to Blackout Train until I get to the minimum level required, where if I use all my rare candies, I will get to that level. So I'll let you know when that is. And that level is level 61. I actually made it to Glacia's last Pokemon, her Walrein, and then she knocks me out, but this is great. 61 is what I needed because I have 14 rare candies. So now I can use all my rare candies to get to level 75, and now we can do the league for real. I'm not going to bother showing the Drake and Phoebe fights again, obviously, so we're going to go play the intro for Glacia and actually finish this league. Glacia leads off with her Celio. I go ahead and use Steel Wing. It does far more than half. It actually almost one-shots, but unfortunately it does not, because the water type does resist steel moves, so Steel Wing is only neutral on this thing. Then on the Glalie, this thing is obviously weak to Steel Wing, so I'm going to one-shot that thing. Then on this other Celio, it's effectively just the same thing as before. I used Aerial Ace for some reason. I guess I was just experimenting to see if it would do more than half. It does, so I should probably just Aerial Ace the Celio then. But if I just spam Steel Wing constantly, I do get the chance of defense boosts, but it's not like it really matters. Now I am back to the Walrein. I use Steel Wing for half, it hits me with Surf, fortunately not using Blizzard, and then I can go ahead and use another Steel Wing, and it unfortunately lives and I get a reset. Dang dude, even at level 75 I lose to the Ice type specialist. Funnily enough, on the next attempt, I go full on Winona and I actually equip an Oran Berry just to get some extra HP because I was out of citrus berries. Then on her Walrein, I used 2 Hidden Power Grounds followed by a Steel Wing because I really needed to try to avoid putting her into heal range. So now with her defeated, we need to go take on the 4th Elite Four member, Drake. I have an absolute moveset overhaul at this point. I have Return, Rest, Attract, and Substitute. I got the Return TM in Pacific Logtown, and I got the Rest TM in Lily Cove. The Attract TM was earlier in Verdendorf Town. So at level 76, the effective plan is to have a Substitute set up, and then I can use Attract on any of the threatening Pokemon, such as his Flygon and Salamence, who both have Flamethrower. But fortunately, Substitute and Attract along with Rest is just a very, very good moveset combo that most Pokemon can pull off, assuming that they can be female against this guy. And fortunately, I'm actually able to first try Drake, which is what I would have said if he didn't break through Attract at the last minute. I do defeat him on the second attempt though. So now, we are going to go fight the champion of Emerald, Wallace. Let's do this. I actually have the White Herb item equipped to Skarmory, This is because when he sends out his Gyarados, I do not want the Intimidate to stick around, but that doesn't matter for the first attempt. The Wailord actually froze me with Blizzard, so that's a quick reset. On the next attempt, as soon as I'm able to use Attract on the Wailord, I can go ahead and set up another substitute and use Rest to try and get my HP back up. Funnily enough, even though his HP is quite low, a critical hit Water Spout's able to break my substitute. But fortunately, I'm able to wake up, set up another substitute, and then I can defeat the Wailord with Return. Next up is the Tentacruel. Return does far more than half, Hydro Pump breaks my substitute, and then Wallace uses a full restore, which is fine, because I can just one-shot it with the next Return. Then on the Ludicolo, I go ahead and use Attract on it right away before even attempting substitute, but I honestly should have just substituted first because that was kind of risky. Then I use Return for 3/4, Wallace uses another full restore, I miss my next Return, but then the next Return hits, and then before I knock it out, I decide to use Rest to try and get a bunch of my HP back, because this Pokemon really cannot do much to me besides spamming Surf. In fact, it actually takes 2 Surfs for my substitute to even break on this thing. Then I can get to level 77, and next up is the Whiscash. I was debating whether to set up another substitute, but I decided just spam Return. So I 2-shot it with Return. Then on the Gyarados, it uses Intimidate, but fortunately the White Herb erases that. Then I can 2-shot the Gyarados, and last up is his Ace Milotic. I go ahead and use Return, it does half, the Citrus Berry puts it out of Yellow Bar, but it doesn't matter though, I actually get a good range with Return, and I'm able to 2-shot it, and Wallace is defeated. However though, this is Pokemon Emerald we're talking about. The run doesn't truly end until we defeat Steven Stone, the true champion of Hoenn. So why don't we go head on over there, shall we? I now have the leftovers which I got on the SS Aqua in the postgame, and I used all the PP ups I had to give myself as much PP in Steel Wing and Hidden Power Ground as possible. I did get rid of Return though, in exchange for getting Hidden Power back. The effective strategy for Steven's Pokemon is just to use Attract on them and slowly chip them down with Steel Wing or Hidden Power Ground. His Skarmory especially is very slow, because he does resist Steel Wing, but there's not really much he can do because he can just use his own Aerial Ace or his own Steel Wing. I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to switch out his Skarmory at some point. Plus, with all these Steel Wings I'm using, I'm actually slowly building up my defense whenever I get one of those rare defense boosts from Steel Wing. Eventually, I do knock out his Skarmory, but I only get 1 defense boost sadly. Then I can use Hidden Power Ground to 2-shot the Aggron, and the Aggron actually paralyzes me with Thunder. I'm not able to move, and he actually defeats me. So yeah, Axew did warn me about that, but I was just hoping I could get lucky and 2-shot it, and I definitely would have 2-shot it if it weren't for Thunder paralyzing me like a cheap shot move. On the second battle against Steven, I actually get +3 in my defense. I decided to use Attract on the Aggron first, then use Hidden Power Ground, and fortunately it never once uses Thunder on me. Then he sends out his Claydol. His Claydol really is not that threatening at all. I go ahead and use Steel Wing for about 1/3. Unfortunately he does set up Reflect, but I kind of expected that though. This is the reason Axew told me to hold on to all the PP ups and the PP max for this fight. Because look at this, I had 40 Steel Wing going into this fight, and as soon as I finish the Claydol, I have 12 Steel Wing left. So yeah, every PP mattered there. Then on the Cradily, unfortunately I couldn't hit it, and it hits me with Confuse Ray. And I do hit myself once or twice, but fortunately I do break out of Confusion, and the Steel Wing that I actually knock out the Cradily with gets me to +6 defense. I have never seen +6 defense from Steel Wing. That just shows you how many of those we had to use. And the Armaldo is quite easy because it is actually weak to Steel. And then last up is his Metagross. The Metagross is especially good with Hidden Power Ground. I go ahead and use it, it does 1/3. Psychic only does like 40 damage. I go ahead and use another Hidden Power Ground. Fortunately, Psychic doesn't give me a special defense drop. and it does live the third hidden power, but he's out of full restores, and then I can defeat it and Skarmory clocks in with a real time of 2 hours, 57 minutes, and 9 seconds, with 8 resets at level 78, and a game time of 8 hours and 20 minutes. So yeah, Skarmory didn't really go that bad at all. The only thing that really mattered in this run was just I had to do blackout training for Roxanne, Wattson, and the Elite Four, mainly to get to a high enough level to defeat them, as well as get a high enough level for Steve and Stone. And honestly, having only 8 resets is actually pretty decent in a Pokemon Emerald run. However though, this does take into account that I have had around 40 blackouts total. So yeah, that's a lot, but I have been noticing though that with a lot of bad Pokemon, it actually ends up being a good idea to do constant blackout training for the end of the game. So I'd say this run still went pretty well. If we take a look at the leaderboard though, this Pokemon still got a super slow time, so we're actually in the bottom 5 of all Pokemon Emerald runs. This thing got a slower time than Arbok, but faster than Latios, Lileep, and Magcargo. However though, Lileep and Magcargo were done such a long time ago, and Latios did not end up beating Steve and Stone. I don't believe Arbok did as well. These were before I made that rule change, so eventually they will need re-ranks. But I have been considering just taking them off the leaderboard entirely, because I really do not want to redo things like Latios and Magcargo and Lileep. Like, part of me is thinking just any run that didn't do Steven, I should just take them off, but what do you think? Just leave it in the comments with your thoughts. Anyway, this Pokemon still did pretty decent, at least better than I thought. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support me through YouTube memberships. All YouTube members get access to these videos around a couple weeks early, and all of the patch files to all the backboard Pokemon we do on stream. Later in the week, we'll be attempting Pokemon Emerald again with Mantine. This thing's version exclusive in Gen 2. I think it's going to do way better, I'm quite confident. Anyway, I will see you all in the next video.